What up, y'all, and welcome to Massachusetts here at the Papyrus Motorsports Park for the 18th race in the 2023 FBRL Napa Truck Series season. The championship battle is tight with 5 races to go, and 2 of its main competitors are on the front row. Third pole of the season for AJ Jones, second at this track, with championship leader Luke Martin to his right side. Outside dark horse Bob Burns is in row 2 with Blaze McKinney. Second in the points, Ace Wild with 4th in the points. William Brock are in row 3. Huck Davis and Tib Foster. Foster, another driver with an outside shot like Burns, in row 4, with Malik Nevins and Saden Davidson rounding out the top 10 here today. Michael Miller, fantastic qualifying effort out of the 87 for Savage Racing. He's got Edward Siemba to his right side. Ryan Griffin, Austin Rogers, Bradley Bishop Jr. 5th in the points, furthest back of the top 5 on the starting grid. He starts 15th. So coming into this race, Luke Martin, 1 point lead over Ace Wild, 10 points over AJ Jones, 13 over William Brock, and 21 over Bradley Bishop Jr. Those 5 drivers are within the 1 race of being able to fight and take the points lead. Tib Foster 42 points back and Bob Burns 44 points back. Those 2 need to gain some points to get within a 1 race jump to the lead conversation, but they have a couple of races to get that done. Some other drivers though that need to get stuff going and fast: Edward Siemba 95 points back, Ryan Griffin 115 back, and Nelson Reeves 126 back round out the top 10, with Jordan Fisher and Dewey Schramm III both 127 points back. The cutoff here after today's race will be 132 points. So if you are not at 132 points or less behind the points leader, you are out of range. One thing to remember though is William Brock has 4 wins, Luke Martin has 3 wins, so you might actually need to be 131 points within that cutoff if you are Fisher or Schramm or Reeves or Griffin or Siemba, who have not won yet this season. You've practically got to start winning races today and win out through the end of the year to have a championship shot. Speaking to Nelson Reeves and Dewey Schramm III, poor qualifying efforts for them. They've got work to do through the field today, making the race on provisionals: Al Bunch, Seth Cole, Eric Monaco, and Samet Oskin. Let's go trackside for the command to fire engines.
Drivers, start your engines!
Angel Gutierrez, Henry Thomas, and Bradley Ream failed to qualify for today's race. It's a sunny 58-degree day here in Massachusetts with a south wind of 7 miles an hour, similar conditions to last year's event. Dewey Schramm III was fastest in practice with a 1:17.896, but he qualified in 29th. Draft is going to be very important here this afternoon. So without draft, overcut pretty much will mean nothing here. 8 to 10 laps on gas, 2.5 to 3.5 seconds of wear. Green flag has been flown, and we are green here in Massachusetts. Already 3 wide is Huck Davis, Ace Wild, and Blaze McKinney. Michael Miller, Tib Foster, William Brock behind them as they head down the hill to the only right-hand turn on this track. AJ Jones clear in the race lead with Burns and Luke Martin side by side behind them. Still heading to the tightest corner on the track, slowest corner on the track. Speeds down to only about 130 miles an hour through this corner once you hit max tire wear. Fresh tires, you're talking about $140. And then this is the zone where all the passing will commence coming to the start-finish line. drafting all the way up to speeds of about close to 200 miles an hour down into turn 1. Luke Martin making a move, Ace Wild making a move, Wild with help from Tib Foster as AJ Jones leads the first lap of the race. Turn 1, these trucks will practically not have to crack the throttle at all. Turn 2 is a different story. You'll see these drivers have to crack the throttle more and more, maybe drab the brake a little bit as they come out of turn 2 into turn 3. And then down into turn 4. 6-turn course overall, so not a lot of turns for road course. That's what makes this track more of a super speedway road course than Italy was. Italy had an actual infield road course section that was flat. This track does not. It's all banking, high-speed action. So your engine's important here, your aerodynamics are important here, and of course your chassis is important, but engine and aero, I feel like, bring out the most of what you're going to be able to do here this afternoon more than anything else. As two of the Monster Energy Racing trucks working together to get up to AJ Jones, Wild and Tib Foster making a move. Now Foster going to make a move of his own right into turn 1, 3 wide for the race lead on the third lap of the race. Now Luke Martin following Tib Foster, Bob Burns right on his bumper, and check out who jumped into the top 10, the 87 of Michael Miller. So this Razor Ford out of Savage Racing is fastest lap on the race. Now that is a draft lap, but that shows a lot of what this truck can do in the draft. A 1:17.574, faster than what Dewey Schramm III set in practice. In fact, Ryan Griffin's 6.72 and Tib Foster's 8.77 are also faster than what Schramm set in practice. So you see Jones and Miller now both making a move towards Blaze McKinney. Jones unable to keep up the momentum, and Miller, when you go into turn 5, you really have to check up on the bottom of that heavy banking. That's going to hurt him here at the beginning of the high-speed draft section going into turn 6. Tib Foster has taken the lead. Luke Martin second. Let's just show you guys the difference here. It's about 3 miles an hour here for Luke Martin. So you see 189 for Tib, 192 for Luke. Now come back to Saden Davidson. He's going 198 for a hair of a second there. And you see as he holds the momentum at 190, Burns is down to 185. So through the first 3 corners of the track, you're basically using all the momentum you've built up coming out of turn 5 through turn 6 to the start-finish line to make some moves before you get to turn 4. And then turn 4 kind of resets everyone. And then turn 5, the build begins again. Bob Burns has taken the lead for now, and we're already halfway through a fuel cycle. Huck Davis has fallen outside of the top 10, and you see Bradley Bishop Jr. trying to move forward behind teammate Malik Nevins to get into the top 10. Bishop with Fisher to his left side. They are currently battling for 13th place. And BBJ, as mentioned on the starting grid, was the only driver out of the top 5 in points to qualify outside of the top 10. And you can see, even in a draft reliant track like this, almost because it's draft reliant, it is hard to make moves and move forward if you are not within that top 8 or so. You've really got to play the draft, but also get into the corners as good as you can. As you see, Aiden Smith about ran over Fisher behind Bradley Bishop Jr. But now BBJ with a very good turn 5, closing up to the bumper of Siemba as he gets to the inside of Ryan Griffin. Now BBJ on the preferred groove, getting all the draft he can. See, Siemba makes a peek on Nevins, but this deep in the draft, you got no help close to you. There's no point making that move. You just got to stay in line and use that momentum to your advantage. So Bishop Jr. up to 12th, still looking to get points, but right now his main competitors are all ahead of him, looking to gain more points than him. Another driver having a pretty good run right now is Ben McDonald. This 13 truck for North Border Motorsports has been pretty poor the past month or so. The team really went to work to figure out what was wrong, and it seems the results have kind of paid off and have got them currently fighting for some points here. McDonald set to continue his Napa Truck Series career next year for Volunteer Motorsports, so he wants to run as well as he can, to learn as much as he can, because you don't really learn much when you're running 39th every week. You got Vince Freeze in the 39 here for his final start of the season, allowed to make this start despite being over 5 starts on the season due to the reserve clause that was implemented at the start of 2023. So Freeze currently running only 19th, probably not as good as he had hoped, but still a long race to go, as Jacques Anderson has jumped into the top 20, bumping out Austin Runkle. Mac Johnson just barely outside of the top 20 right now. You've got Sean Ard back here as well. Al Bunch has driven his way up to 24th place after getting into the race on a provisional, so the 65 is making moves through the draft. That shows you it's possible. Nelson Reeves also up to 26th after starting 36th. Meanwhile, Arya Carmona, the 8 of Bobo Jones, struggling. Austin Rogers has fallen backwards. He started 16th. So the 82's hot streak seems to have cooled off for the current moment. Zach Flickinger in this 66, making his return to the FBRL this week for Burns Motorsports, helping fill an empty spot in this ride to the end of the season. Flickinger will be driving for, I believe it's Nova Sport in the Hardy's National Series next year full time. So getting the rust off by running the last 5 races of the Napa Truck Series season here for the 66 truck, which will be shutting down at the end of the year. You got Dewey Schramm III also at the back of the field. Jeff Bolton. How about the 56 of Charles Sanfordman? He has been unable to go anywhere, currently in 40th place. And then Sameta Oskin and Eric Monaco right behind him, as it looks like Charles is actually going to pit here, as yes, we are on lap 8. The pit window has opened, and I think a very smart move here by Charles with where he was running. This pit road gets very bogged really quickly. Look at from the top coming out of turn 6 where the asphalt color gets a little darker. That zone right there will get bottlenecked really quickly. And if you are not one of the first 5 trucks in the pit road, you are losing time. And if you are way back in the field, you lose a ton of time. So great strategy call here by the 56 team to bring Charles down on lap number 8. Blaze McKinney also came in. I believe he was just inside or outside of the top 10. So we'll see what this strategy call does for these two. Currently at the front of the field, it's Tib Foster and Ace Wild, and you can see the fall off. They were running high 117s at the beginning of the run. Now they're down to 123s. As William Brock has moved up into the top 3. Wild going to put a move on Tib Foster. That could prevent the 47 from pitting here, as actually Wild is going to come in. Nope, Tibb's going to pit too, but Brock stays out. Siemba, Huck Davis, Nevins, Aiden Smith, Nelson Reeves stays out. Schramm with a late move to pit. It looked like Randy Riggs Jr. wanted to pit, but he elects to stay out, as does Josh Crash, but everybody else is in. Burns, AJ Jones, Davidson, Luke Martin, Ryan Griffin, Michael Miller, and more. So pit road getting chaotic here on lap number 9, coming to lap number 10. You see Jones and Luke had to really slow down to get into their stalls because of Bob Burns in front of them. That might cost them a teeny bit of time. When you come out of pit road here, the one thing you want is draft. Draft, draft, draft. If I'm not close enough to the truck in front of me's draft, I might be doomed. As you see Tibb, Burns, Ace Wild all off of pit road. Luke Martin and AJ Jones get kind of stuck coming out next to Jordan Fisher. So Tibb comes out first, followed by Burns, Ace Wild. There goes McKinney. So McKinney looks like he's going to be top 5. Look at how far up Charles Sanford moved after pitting from 40th place. Just no one to bottleneck him down in front of him. He comes out in front of the 42 of AJ Jones. So that just shows you, if you are at the back on the first round of stops at this racetrack, you want to pit with no one in front of you. As you see, Reeves and Riggs should be able to gain a bit of time here with the gaps in front of them. They're not going to close right up to the 89 of Aiden Smith, but they should gain time regardless, as that field was super bottleneck. Ooh, a little bit of contact from Nevins to Siemba as Siemba pit in front of him. So Brock leads this final group in the pit road on lap 10. It's Brock, Huck Davis, Siemba, Nevins, Aiden Smith, Reeves, Riggs, and Crash. Brock will lead them out of pit road. And this group actually looks pretty tight together with the exception of Nevins. Here comes Tib Foster. Foster will re-inherit the race lead as he goes by the one of William Brock. Ace Wild will drive by. McKinney will squeeze by the one with Burns. Saden Davidson also going to go by now up into the top 5. Brock and Huck Davis will be the top 2 out of their group, and I think they're just going to have enough sniff of draft to keep up. Not sure if the same can be said for Ryan Griffin, who pit in the large group. And then it looks like Siemba, Aiden Smith, and Charles Sanford are going to be just a little too far back. Griffin is either going to keep up with Huck Davis here, or he's going to fall back to the second group. I mean, what can you say about the strategy here by the 56 team to get him up into the top 20? And let's see the speed. Yep, Aiden Smith is not gaining on Ryan Griffin, so he will be the leader of group number 2. So let's see group 1. Going 3 wide for the lead here. Burns and Davidson looking to pass Wild and Tip Foster. That's going to help Blaze McKinney close up, along with Brock and Huck Davis. Ryan Griffin also should be able to keep up here. So the first group is an 8-truck pack. Then you've got Aiden Smith, Siemba Fisher, Luke Martin, Charles Sanford, Michael Miller, AJ Jones, Reeves, Nevins, BBJ, Cook, McDonald, Anderson, Freeze, Ard, Runkle, Bobo Jones, JD Martin, Mac Johnson, Dewey Shrim III, Al Bunch, Randy Riggs Jr., Josh Crash. The second group takes up 9th. That's the wrong button. 9th to 31st. So I think this second group's going to get pretty racy for teams trying to get points on their day. Remember, the 39 is an owner points championship racing truck. I don't think that truck is actually in range for the owner points championship, but they are trying to get as many points as they can. So whether it's Kyle Sustri or Nelson Reeves who gets the points from the 39 truck for next year to start the season, they want that driver to be locked into the field. So now, curious situation here regarding the championship. You've got Wild, Brock, Burns, and Foster currently in a chance to race for this win. Meanwhile, AJ Jones, Luke Martin, Bradley Bishop Jr., they are stuck back here in this second group, and now it's going to go. It could go one of two ways for these 3 drivers. They could either finish at the front of the group and get the most points possible, or if bad luck strikes with pit road, they could fall, and they could fall really far. They could fall as far as 31st, depending on how the pit cycles pan out. So if you're AJ Jones, if you're Luke Martin, if you're Bradley Bishop Jr., you want to be one of the top 3 leading this pack when the next round of pit stops begins. Hearing there was an incident back in the 3rd pack. Oh, and Aria Carmona gets in the Nate Champion and drills him into the outside guardrail. And then they are stopped here, and ooh, a couple trucks make evasive action, and they're able to get on through. Looked like Champion was running against the guardrail, then went to make a move on the truck in front of him, and Carmona, I think maybe she went to send it into the corner, and I think the 84 maybe slid up just a little bit, and that little bit of room wasn't really there, and contact occurred. So that's a tough break for Carmona's day. She was already down, kind of stuck in the third group, unlikely to earn points for the day, and same for Nate Champion, but not how either of these drivers wanted their day to go from bad to worse. As we close in on the second round of pit stops, William Brock, Huck Davis, they've got the best tires in this group, and they are using them to their advantage to move forward. Brock gonna move up to third here as Blaze McKinney is coming to pit road. Luke Martin's gonna follow him in. Luke trying to find a way to get back up towards the lead pack. Gonna be tough to gain 4 seconds here. But you also don't want to come out of pit road without any draft, because then however many laps you run without draft can hurt you as well. So the 44, 28 both coming into pit road. And another tough thing with this pit road is with where the line ends and where you can get back up to speed, the first few stalls don't really get a huge advantage coming out of pit road. So it is useful to have draft coming out of the pit lane. If you are not one of the, if you do not start worse than 5th, I think the first 5 stalls have the least kind of build-up time. So McKinney's pit makes this pack 7. Ryan Griffin is holding on for dear life at the edge of draft. See who pits here on lap number 16. None of the front runners are coming in. Wild continues to lead. There was no move there from Tib Foster in the 1. William Brock and Huck Davis now closing up. They've got a 1-lap tire advantage to the top 2. They're actually, these top 4 are pulling away from Davidson, Burns, and Griffin. Now Huck Davis making a move on William Brock. Davis wanting to be in front of the 1 when they go into pit road. I'm hearing Roberto Crown Jr. pit for his second stop. But he was the only one to pit this time by. Will anyone come to pit road on this lap? Meanwhile, it's become a Monster Energy Racing 1, 2, 3. Wild, Foster, and Huck Davis. This is something you don't usually see come together. The last time we saw something like this was Phoenix, I believe, last year. I was with Siemba, Burns, and Fisher. They were all running top 5 pace. They didn't get the 1, 2, 3. But the pace was there for it to potentially happen. The pace seems to be there for Monster Energy Racing to do it here today, but because of the nature of the track, I think it's going to be tough to pull off, because draft is so important here. All it takes is one driver getting a good run, coming to the white flag to start the final lap, or coming to finish the race, and that 1, 2, 3 finish just disappears. I don't believe a team has ever had a 1, 2, 3 finish in the Napa Truck Series history. This is the I don't know what number race this is in the series. I think it's like 94th race in series history. Anyway, Ace Wilds pitting, Tib Foster, Davidson, Bob Burns, and Ryan Griffin all coming in here on lap 18. Jerry Cook, AJ Jones, Dewey Schramm III, Michael Miller, Jordan Fisher. See Bradley Bishop Jr. about 7th or 8th truck in line right there. Austin Rogers flying in up to this pack. That leaves Reeves, Siemba, Smith, Nevins, Brock, and Huck Davis out. Charles Sanford just made his pit stop last time, but look at how much further ahead he is than Luke Martin. Luke has had no draft ever since he pitted, and he is losing time, I think, because of it. Yeah, he's been running. He ran a 121 last time by. That's worse than draft at full tire wear. So I think undercutting was a bad decision. Unless they thought someone was going to pit with them. You need draft. Boy, do you need draft here at this racetrack. Forgot to mention, AJ Jones got his, as I mentioned already, AJ Jones got his 3rd pole on the season. It was his 4th career pole in Napa Truck Series history, as the rest of the leaders are going to pit here. And that made AJ just the 7th driver in Napa Truck Series history to win 4 pole awards. So final 6 drivers to pit. Aria Carmona has remained on track. She no longer has a hood. We'll have to see how the field cycles out. Right now it's Wild and Tib Foster 1-2 bumper to bumper, but Foster going to go for the lead. That might help Saden Davidson, Burns, and Griffin keep up with the draft. You also got Blaze McKinney fighting to stay in tow. But remember, McKinney has the oldest tires out of this group. So they'll fly by pit road. Where's Huck Davis? Where's William Brock? There's Brock. Did Davis come out in front of him? He did, and Davis is way out there. Davis actually gonna come out just behind Tib and Wild, and Tib and Wild, I think, are going to be out of draft range. So, wow. What a stop by the 47 and the 30. They are gone from the 36. He is not in range to catch their draft right now. So this will be curious. See if these 5 trucks, 6 trucks can get together here and work together to get up to the top 2. Bob Burns has a problem. Down on the grass. In turn 2, we're hearing the 70 has a flat tire. A devastating dose of bad luck for the number 70 Jersey Mike's Toyota out of Ange Auto. This team has been searching for their 20th win in Napa Truck Series history as they're on their way out of the series. Burns, I think, is just trying to stay out of the way here. This is the racing line, and he probably should be on the apron on the inside, but you don't generally want to cross lanes left and right on a high-speed track like this when you've got a flat tire. So smart call by Burns to just keep it as far left as he can. And now there's the apron coming out over here, which will go all the way to pit road. But Burns got his first career win back at Kansas this year. Siemba has yet to find victory lane. And bad luck strikes here. I think Burns could have definitely been a threat to maybe win this race. But now we'll have to see if they can salvage anything. They'll be pitting here on lap 22 to lap 21 to 22, so they could potentially stretch it on gas. Should be able to make it to the end of the race, but a tough break for Burns. As the field gets through, Aria Carmona up ahead. William Brock lost touch with the lead draft. And with Bob Burns' flat tire, that means the battle is now on for 7th. He's got AJ Jones right behind him. How about Bobo Jones, who's made some impressive gains on pit road and through the pack? He is up inside the top 10. Charles Sanford has maintained his spot inside the top 15. How about Dewey Schramm III? Up into 12th. Nelson Reeves also in the top 15 in 14th. Michael Miller has maintained a top 20 presence. So has Jacques Anderson. Meanwhile, Luke Martin barely holding on to a position inside the top 20 after his undercut gone bad. And Bradley Bishop Jr. is actually outside of the top 20. And with where Ace Wild is running, this is bad news for both of these drivers. Remember, just 4 races left after today. The last thing you want to see if you're one of these two is that 30 truck winning today's race. But right now, the odds are pretty high. It's pretty much just him and Tib Foster right now, but there's still one more pit stop to go. Jerry Cook just got spun out, and I think Michael Miller might have had something to do with it. What on earth just happened? Cook gets turned. Carmona heading down pit road for her final stop. I'm not sure what that was about, but that just knocked Jerry Cook out of a top 20 position. And at the high speed section of this track, too, lost a boatload of time. He falls all the way down to 39th. See if we can't figure out what this was all about. Michael Miller's got a run on the 15. And he makes a move to the inside of Cook right off the corner. It looks like maybe Jerry got loose because the back end starts to swing out. And then he comes down into Michael Miller, and Cook goes head first into the inside guardrail. Miller able to move back up the track and continue on, but this killed Jerry's race. Jerry goes for several spins, likely very unhappy that just transpired. Tib Foster and Ace Wild actually gained a 1/10 of a second that lap over Ryan Griffin, Huck Davis, and Saden Davidson, as these 3 trucks have been kind of battling it out for third. Huck had to really check up there into the corner in the turn 5. Bob Burns is up here with these guys on fresh tires. I'll have to wait and see if the 70 can, in fact, make it to the end of the race without having to pit again, but he's up here trying to get his lap back for the time being. Blaze McKinney has actually lost touch with them, as he has the oldest tires out of anybody and has stayed out as long as he has. Wild is going to pit here. Griffin and Davidson will follow, as will McKinney. This is the money stop. AJ Jones, Jordan Fisher, Bobo Jones, Dewey Schramm III, JD Martin, Jacques Anderson, Sean Ard, Michael Miller, Crash, Runkle, and more. This is the money stop for Wild and Griffin, Davidson and McKinney, AJ Jones, and so many more. Now, Griffin had a bit of a gap to him from Wild, but he was really able to dive it in the pit road. There he is. Davidson just got out of his stall. I'm not sure if Davidson's going to be able to keep up with Griffin. See Wild come out of pit road. Griffin's right behind him. There's Davidson. I think Griffin might have a tow, but I don't know if Davidson will. So now that left Tib Foster out on track with no draft help. Huck Davis has a tow off of Bob Burns. That should help him quite a bit. Tib is going to stay out another lap. I don't know if I agree with that. Huck Davis is actually going to pit. Brock, Aiden Smith, everyone else is pitting. Tib Foster stayed out by himself. He probably should have come down that lap. Bradley Bishop Jr. and Luke Martin come down. They've got no one slowing them up in front of them. Zach Flickinger stays out. Curious call. This whole group just stayed out. Bolton, Carlton, Snyder, and Monaco. Let's see, Wild and Griffin. Griffin's definitely getting draft here, but Davidson is not. show you the speeds at the start finish line. I think it's going to be about 183 for Wild, 186 for Griffin, and yep, Davidson has nothing to the 10. Aiden Smith coming out right on the bumper of William Brock. Buck Davis comes out right behind Ace Wild with Ryan Griffin right behind him. So Davis should be able to work with Ryan Griffin here to catch Ace Wild. As I think Tib Foster is probably going to fall back to these guys as he pits. Remember, he had no draft help for 2 full laps. And he ran about a second slower because of that. So he lost time to Huck Davis for sure. But with 6 laps to go, it's the final pit stop of the race for Tib Foster. Zach Flickinger in, Aiden Carlton, Benjamin Snyder, Jeff Bolton, and Eric Monaco also in. Not been a good day for any of those 4. So Wild leads. He's got Ryan Griffin in his draft. There's Huck Davis too with an outside shot looking in. He has draft as well. Where's Tib Foster? Here he comes out of pit road. Up onto the track and into turn 2. That's a good thing for Tib. He wanted to be in front of the leaders here before they got to turn 2, or he might have been doomed. Griffin puts a move on Wild, and Tib's going to be in the way. A little bit of teamwork there. Preventing a move for the lead by Ryan Griffin is Tib Foster. And that lets Huck Davis close right up to the top 3. Davidson is out of range. It's going to be Monster Energy Racing versus former Monster Energy Racing driver Ryan Griffin. So the stage has been set. They'll be taking 5 laps to go. Wild and Griffin have the oldest set of tires. Huck Davis, 1 lap fresher than them. Tib Foster, 2 laps fresher than the 30 and the 10. But draft is king. Draft is king. Can Tib Foster get by the 10? And I'll tell you what, I talked about it about 11 laps ago. Monster Energy Racing was 1, 2, 3. I'd say the odds are pretty darn good for them to get that 1, 2, 3 here this afternoon, but I think it's going to depend on Ace Wild, because Wild has the oldest tires out of the 3 of them, and he's got the same tires as Griffin, so he's got to make sure he can stay in front of Griffin. As he just fell behind him, and then he just shot right by him going into turn 4. Now they're 3 wide behind Huck Davis in the lead. Before we get tunnel vision on the battle for the lead, let's look at 5th on back. Remember, 5th place is worth 2 more points than 6th. 6th to 7th is just a 1-point difference down to 20th. William Brock is fighting for this position with Charles Sanford, Saden Davidson. You also got Aiden Smith, McKinney, AJ Jones could really use those 2 extra points in the championship fight. As Bradley Bishop Jr. is down outside of the top 20. He is in 22nd. Luke Martin is in 23rd, and I don't think Luke's going to be able to get points today. BBJ might have a shot to get a single point if he can get by Runkle and Crash. But this was not the race the 28 and the 88 wanted to have, as they are 3 wide battling for 5th place. Tib Foster gets back by Ryan Griffin. It's a 1, 2, 3, and they are drafting away from the 10. Look at that. They pulled away from the 10 down the hill. About a 3-mile-an-hour difference the 47 had over the 10. That could be aerodynamics. That could be the engine power talking. We know the Chevys have great chassis. You can see Griffin is kind of closing up to Wild through the corner. But then the MER trucks pull away on the straightaway. Three laps to go this time by. And Huck Davis is the leader, but he is the leader for now. Foster and Wild have a huge run coming. Wild's going to make a move. He's got no help from Ryan Griffin. And now Tib Foster will make a move going into turn one. Going to get right to the quarter panel of his teammate. Bob Burns could not make it on fuel. He just came out of the pits. He will not be in range of these drivers to help shake it up. Tib and Ace are side by side. That's going to help Ryan Griffin keep up. As Huck Davis continues to lead. 2 laps to go here in Massachusetts. Huck Davis still leads the race. Tib Foster, though, right on his bumper. Remember, the 47 has 1 lap fresher tires than the 36. Will he make the move into turn 4? Yes, he will. Side by side for the race leader, the teammates out of Monster Energy Racing. Foster, Davis. Ace Wild right behind, trying his best to keep up, but he's at a tire disadvantage. Can Davis clear Tib into turn 5? Tib using his tires to his advantage here. Long way around out of the corner. Tib's got an edge ahead, but he's not going to have the preferred line into turn 6. He's got no draft help up there. Coming to the white flag. Wild's got a really good run here. Will he make a move himself for the race lead, or will he check up to help Huck Davis? Davis is actually going to clear Foster and jump in front of him at the white flag. Wild is looking to get some extra points here. If Wild can get second place, that is 4 more points than third. That could be big for his championship bid. Remember, out of the 3 of these drivers, he's got the best shot. Foster with an outside shot, though. Foster needs to gain as many points as possible over Ace Wild, as well as Luke Martin and the others, if he wants to have a shot over these next 4 races. Davis is pulling away. Can Foster do anything to get by Ace Wild? I think the battle is going to be on for second. And can Ryan Griffin play spoiler to get a top 3 finish? Tell you what, though, all that simulator work, even if it's kind of a super speedway road course, all that simulator work has really paid off for Ryan Griffin on the roadies this year. Foster peeking to the inside of Wild. He's not going to have enough. Can Wild get a run on Huck Davis? We saw the kind of run some drivers got on AJ Jones here last year. Wild has a head of momentum. Coming to the checkered flag. Wild makes a move, but so does Tib Foster. Monster Energy Racing is 3 wide at the start-finish line as they get the first ever 1-2-3 finish in Napa Truck Series history 14. And these trucks were just dominant here this afternoon. You saw it with Wild and Tib at the beginning through the middle portions of the race, and then once Huck Davis got out in the lead, it was just impossible to get by him here in the final stage. Great run for Ryan Griffin. He comes home in 4th. How about William Brock? He got 5th. It's going to be big in minimizing damage to Ace Wild. So Brock will lose 9 points to Wild. Siemba 6th. Aiden Smith, great day for him in 7th. Jordan Fisher 8th. Charles Sanford, man, how about that? Strategy really worked out for him at the beginning of the race. Went from 40th to the top 15, and he comes home with a 9th place finish for that 56 truck. AJ Jones rounds out the top 10. Nelson Reeves, Blaze McKinney, Bobo Jones, Dewey Shrim the 3rd. Sean Ard with some more points, trying to get out of the top, get up to locked-in territory. Saden Davidson fell to 16th at the end here. Malik Nevins 17th. J.D. Martin, the late surge to get a top 20. He finishes 18th. Jacques Anderson with some points in 19th. And Bradley Bishop Jr. rounds out the top 20, just a point to show for his efforts, but Luke Martin will come home with no points once again in a race where Ace Wild finishes inside the top 3, 24th on the day for Luke. Austin Rogers with a bit of a rebound at the end to get 23rd, but no points, so not a result worth noting. Ben McDonald, we saw him top 20 early on in the day. Same with Michael Miller. Miller gets 27th. McDonald gets 29th. Vince Freeze also fell. He finished 30th. And man, how about Jerry Cook 39th and Bob Burns in 40th? As Nate Champion was the only DNF here this afternoon. That is going to do it for me here in Massachusetts. Huck Davis with his first career Napa Truck Series win. He's the 44th different driver to do it. And we'll see Huck Davis back with Monster Energy Racing next year. So in what has been a very bad luck year this year, with some great moments for Huck Davis, he finally gets the win he's been looking for. That makes it 2 wins in a row for Monster Energy Racing. Remember, Ace Wild won a couple weeks ago at Chicagoland. Overall, that's actually the second time Monster Energy Racing has gone back-to-back this year. Tip Foster and Ace Wild did it earlier in the year, Road Atlanta to Atlanta. So that makes 4 wins on the year for MER, which I believe puts them 1 win behind Coyote. Anyway, that's it for me here in Massachusetts. Get the heck out of this cursed state. I do not like living here. Here come your official race results and point standings. And I'll see y'all next time in California. Which is also a terrible state to live in. Anyway, goodbye.
She's a fussing and a cussing as I'm packing the truck.